Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. It's nice to have you riding along today. In case you didn't know, my name is Jim. When I was young, probably about 8 or 9 years old, I had to burn the trash in the burn barrel in the alley. That was one of my main jobs. We lived in that little town of about 500 people, north central Colorado, on the west side of the Continental Divide, 8,000 feet above sea level. And I'd have to go out there winter, summer, spring, and fall, put the trash in the trash barrel, crumple up a piece of newspaper and strike a match, set it on fire. I always kind of liked to watch it, kind of goof with it. My mom told me to get away from that burn barrel and come back in the house and eat my dinner, all that stuff. That alley was really pretty cool. It ran right in back of our house. On the other side of the alley was the gully. Go down there and play when we were kids. Long grass down that gully. We could ski down it in the wintertime. It was a lot of fun in the gully. I buried my dog Poncho right by that alley in the corner of our yard. Now there was a white fence that separated the alley from the yard. Dad always liked to build these white fences, have to dig the post holes and set the post. And he came along with 1x, probably 1x8, I imagine. Later on, then he'd paint them white. That was kind of my dad's trademark, the white fence. Not a picket fence, though. He didn't ever have a picket fence that I ever remember, ever. Those alleys all ran east and west, go along with the streets, and the streets were all named after rocks. Main Street was agate. Then the next street to the north was jasper. North of that was topaz. And then the next street to the north of that was garnet. That's where I was raised, on Garnet Street. Those alleys in town couldn't run all the way from the east side of town to the west side of town because of the hills there. I know the alley that ran behind Topaz Street ran right into the hill where my house sat on top of. And at one time, before I was alive, they did cut a alley into that hill, but it wasn't practical and it wasn't used at all. I knew that it was there because the hill would flatten out there just for a second. I spoke about a toboggan crash we had hitting that alley years before when I was a little kid, but it really wasn't a serviceable road. Those hills just messed the alleys up. All kinds of places. You'd be running along with a alley behind the street and all of a sudden some hill, and they'd maybe cut the street into the hill but not the alley. Later, as I got older, probably about 14 or so, they made the alley behind Agate Avenue, Main Street, they made it a one-way. There's so much traffic and whatever in those alleys because of trucks delivering to the stores on Main Street and all that, that they made it all one way. You couldn't have any alley behind the stores on the south side of the Main Street because there's a big hill that went down, and over the hill was the railroad tracks, probably 40 feet below, I don't know. Yeah, probably about 40 feet below was railroad tracks and the train depot there. So all these alleys in town was north of Main Street. I'm going to take a little trip down the main alley off Main Street, off of Agate Avenue there, behind the stores on the north side of the street. Side of the street my dad's grocery store was on. We're going to start walking at 0 Street. That's on the west end of town. We're going to walk to the east until we run into 5th Street there. Not going to drive because there's too much to poke around and look at. So let's just start there at 0 Street. On my right there is the Grand Bar, the back of it. Those cooks will come out and put stuff on a little bitty porch. The kitchen's set so you have to go up a few stairs there, and they'd set a box or something that maybe some food came in from the distributor there. And you'd walk past the Grand Bar, and it's a pretty long restaurant. And then you come to this parking lot. On the left, there's really nothing there, just an empty field. But the parking lot was basically the parking lot for the Stone Lodge and Garage. As I'm walking to the east, I can see the motel rooms there of the Stone Lodge. I can see the main office. That's where you go in. The garage part wrapped around to the front of the building, and it faced Main Street, the garage part. So as I walk by that big gray stone building, it was a big old rock building there, and there is the basketball court. Wayne's dad made a big old backboard there, set it up. There was a flat spot there, and we had mighty basketball games there constantly. I spent a huge part of my childhood at that basketball court. Now there's a door you could go into the back room of Stone Lodge. If you needed to go into the house, you didn't have to walk all the way around. You could just pop in that door. Next thing you know, you're in the laundry room, and then you're in the office and up the stairs. Wayne and I play horse. We play 1-on-1. We play 2-on-2. A lot of times against Wayne's brother Ray and one of his buddies, maybe Terry. Mighty basketball games. Mighty basketball games. On the left there, as we continue going, I got to stop playing, guys. I got to show these folks the rest of this alley going through town. And there's the lumber yard. I believe it was called Park Lumber. We lived in these big parks. Middle Park is where we lived. Big flat areas in the middle of the mountains. To our south was South Park. To our north was North Park up by Wyoming. But we lived in Middle Park, and that's what they called our school, Middle Park. So Park Lumber's on the left. Old Skip ran that as long as I could remember. I think Donna's dad owned it or something. Maybe ran it before I even realized Donna existed. There were two of those lumber yards. One was up in the little lake town up north of us, and then the one in our town. So here we are. That's First Street going, and that's the way you go up the hill, go a couple blocks to the north. On the right there's the bank. Dave's dad worked at the bank before he opened his insurance agency, before they built the big old fancy new bank, tore down the Stone Lodge and Garage to do it. So let's get across the street, and right there on the right is Conoco. My cousin Bonnie, her dad had that Conoco station. It had the tallest sign in town. First one to have that tall sign. Now, Bonnie's dad, Alvy, was the nephew to my grandpa. That's how Bonnie got to be my second cousin. I guess that's second cousin. I'm not sure. My grandma's no longer with us to explain it all to me. She's the one that knew all that stuff. And I think a lot of that got lost when she passed on. But anyway, usually if I had to go to the bathroom, I didn't want to go into somebody's house or into a store. I could pop into Alvy's bathroom right there. He'd let you go to the bathroom there. That was okay. That was a good gas station. Conoco. On the left there, that's where old Johnny, he'd lay carpet, put down flooring and all that. Okay, let's keep going. There's that little bitty house that later Doc would have his little office in. And the next one's the Snowview Motel. Now, I know it's just a wall there, and you see the windows from the motel rooms, and it's all stucco or something. Snowview Motel. Aptly named because you could view a lot of snow in that country. There's houses on my left. Next one is Olson's Cafe. Used to be called Craig's Cafe, but I only remember that by people telling me stories. So I wasn't old enough to really remember it being Craig's. But there's the door, and if you look in, you might be able to see Wart cooking. That place is open 24/7. There's a bar in there also. But old Wart, and I don't know what his name was. He was a nice guy, but he was kind of this little guy. We all called him Wart. I don't think it was anything to put the guy down or anything. I do believe that was a term of affection towards him. He'd make quite the burrito. That is a fact. Okay, let's keep going. And on the right there, Yep, right there is the old bakery building. Paul started an insurance agency there later. Let's get across the street there. There's the trail riders. That's where Mrs. Dumas lives. She'll tip you a dime for bringing her groceries to her. Next one on the right, and that big old house on the left, I forget who lived there. Later it become a chiropractor's office, but that's a long time from now. I mean, I'm only, how old did I say I was? 8, 10, 12 years old now. On the right there's the trading post. See that trailer? See that trailer? They'd fill up their trailer with all their trash and stuff, and Jay'd have to take it out to the dump. We could go in there and see their tennis shoes. They keep them stored right there as soon as you get in that doorway. Now let's just peek in there. See that big old glass bottle? That's where they steam cowboy hats and shape them. Right there. If we look there, we can see into the store on our left, but this is their storeroom back here. Man, they can sell the cowboy boots here. Okay, let's keep going. I don't have time to go into the store and say hi to Jay and Francis and Uncle Charlie. I don't have time. We got to get this done. All of a sudden I realize the time's getting away from us. There on the right's a couple houses. There's a couple more. See that house there? These two houses on our right? Well, someday my dad will take those out of there and build his brand new store there. But right now on the left, there is Jack and Jules' place. Let's keep going. There's Ford Garage on the right. Man, that is a busy place. They have so many employees. That's where my folks buy their cars there. There's Glenn. Let's keep going. Hi, Glenn. Okay, this building on the right here, it comes all the way back to the alley. I know, that's my dad's store. That's my dad's store right there. We're not even going to go around to the front of it. No, big old building. I don't want him to find me goofing off back here in the alley and put me to work. Let's get across the street. Across the street. I think this is a vacant lot there on the right, but someday there'll be a Texaco station there. And the next one is the drugstore. Now on the right of the drugstore, when you face the back of it, on the right is the drugstore, and on the left is Doc Frazier's place. Yep, that drugstore, it's got the best soda fountain in town. Well, it might be the only soda fountain in town, but it's the best. Let's keep going. There's the parking lot on the right, just a bunch of houses and stuff on the left. And there is the Payne's Cafe. Next to it, there's my Uncle Clifford's barber shop. I know, we can't even tell what's what. We're in the alley. So what? This is where I like to hang out. It's in the alley. Keep going. This is that hotel I've been talking about. I told you about. When I'm a little older, I will explore that hotel, and it'll be the biggest adventure I had in a long time. But right now, it had just shut down. There's nothing happening there. I remember when I was little, though, it was open. Yes, sirree, it was open. Next building's my grandpa's pool hall. We ought to go in and see him. I could go in this back door, and there's a table back there. They play cards after hours. But if you go into the pool hall part, there's another big old table they play cards at during the daytime. I have no idea why that is like that, but that's what it is. The next one, well, this is called the Columbine Cafe, but just last year or the year before, it was called the Town Crier. Had some old-timey guy from the Revolutionary War. He was ringing a bell. But now this guy named Ricky, he's always smoking a cigar. He bought the place, changed the name. Get across the street, there's the QZ. The QZ Motel. Now this is weird because you go into the office off of Main Street. Right there. And on the left, that's Rube and Joe's store. Yeah, that's another grocery store. My dad and Rube, they're friends, but that's where Rube's store is. That red building there. Yeah, on the left side of this alley here as we go in. We'll walk right by it. I guess their truck pulls up here in the alley. They've got one of those side doors, kind of like my dad did. Rube, he's okay. Okay, on the right is some old office buildings. There used to be a sporting goods store there, Max, but he's gone now. I remember that. And this old building right here, that's where the trading post used to be. My dad used to work there. Okay, let's keep going. There's some houses on the left. Okay. Oh, let's turn around a minute. Come on, let's turn around. Let's go to the street. If we look up the hill, see that white building up there and see that cannon? See that cannon? That is the Legion Hut. And that's an old cannon from the war they brought here. Isn't that cool? Anyway, let's keep going. I'm running out of time. I'm big time running out of time. Okay, on the right, that's my Uncle Jim and Uncle Sam's dry cleaner store, that little adobe looking building there. Yeah, and the next building, now my Uncle Vic just sold that store building to Keith's dad, that Gamble's store. Later on in life, my Uncle Sam will stop being a dry cleaner and buy that Gamble's building. But right now, Keith's dad just bought it. I don't think we'll go in there. They've got a big old dog there. If Keith was with me, we'd go in, but I don't know where he's at today. Okay, the next building is, see that little yard and stuff? And that little white building there beyond the yard? That's where Terry lives. We play like baseball games and stuff in this little backyard. It's so little, but we'd use a little bat. And it was fun. Yeah, I'd go up there and see Terry's mom. And his dad had his storefront right on the other side of their living room. There was a door, and then you go, and there's windows and stuff you could see. And then here's a house, and then there's Jack Sinclair. You know, they might give you an ice cream bar if you go in there. It was actually an ice cream sandwich. Anyway, that's the end of the alley. That's the end of the alley. A lot of good times there, going up and down that alley. Now, we went the way that the one-way sign said, so we don't get run over by a car coming at us. This is definitely a memory lane for me. Our podcast is released every Wednesday morning. You can find us at your favorite podcast provider. You can also find our webpage at babyboomertales.com. There are links to our Boomers General Store, a place where you can buy our book, pictures of that wonderful country I speak so much about, and yes, there's even a picture of me. Never be too shy to be kind. It really doesn't take that much effort, and the rewards are countless. I'll be back next Wednesday. Peace out.